Continue to appreciate all of you guys for hitting us up in our email, sending us your mailbag questions. We look forward to continue to get to those too. And honestly, some of them are pretty funny. We might need to just do like where they just rip us. Like, let's just pull some questions where they're like, you guys are dumb. Why would you say that? But anyways, I still want your opinion on this. Like, those are some of my favorites. So keep those coming too. Always collegefootball@gmail.com. A lot of great response to the top 25 from a couple weeks ago. You guys ripped us. It was awesome. So we're good with that, man. We want it. Bring it. That's the beauty of college football. That's the beauty of fandom. Coobs, where are we going?
All right. First question comes from John in Mississippi. And he asks, who are you looking forward to hearing from the most at SEC Media Days? Last year, there was the intrigue of Brian Kelly and the Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher off-season scuttlebutt. What is the storyline that you are most interested about this year?
There's a million different storylines in the SEC right now that intrigue me. But there really isn't one that is as intriguing as the LSU-Bama dynamic and where Brian Kelly is in year 2 and where Nick Saban is in year 16, 17, whatever year it is. I lose track. But that power dynamic right now, the overachievement of LSU, and I guess some people have said, well, the underachievement of Bama the last couple of years. Like they finished 4th last year. They finished 2nd the year before. Like, is that underachievement? I mean, goodness gracious alive. The expectations are absurd. But that rivalry is as intense right now because of the quality of play on the field as it's been since Nick Saban first got there in 2007 and 2008. My first trip to Death Valley as a player in 2008 was one of the craziest, most hostile environments I think I've ever seen in my entire life. We went to overtime too. It was insane. That was wild. But I feel like that rivalry, maybe not quite to that extreme because that was genuine hatred. This rivalry now is on the same level as far as intensity because of the quality on both rosters. So that's an intriguing storyline. Where is the next best team? And we asked this question, and maybe this is something we can revisit later in the week, but it feels like Tennessee and Georgia in the East. It feels like Bama and LSU in the West. Who's next? I mean, is it Ole Miss? Is it Texas A&M? Is it South Carolina? Is it Kentucky? That is really intriguing to me. And then I think, too, quarterbacks. And I know you're going to say, oh, Greg, go on a limb. I know. I get it. I like the position, okay? I really like it. Okay? I really enjoy the position. But what's the pecking order? A lot of people are saying that Joe Milton's the best quarterback in the SEC. Now, I don't align with that. I think he's got a ridiculous ceiling. An amazing ceiling, and maybe by season's end, maybe he'll be in that conversation. Maybe he'll be number 1. But Bama lost a Heisman winner. Georgia lost a Heisman finalist. There's competitions being had all over the place. Hendon Hooker at Tennessee should have been a Heisman finalist. Kentucky lost a guy that was drafted in the 2nd round, even though some people thought he was going to be a top 3 pick. Spencer Rattler was at one point supposed to be the first overall pick. Fell on hard times at Oklahoma, played very average for 10 games at South Carolina, then looked like a superstar for 3. I think the quarterback position is as intriguing as it gets. Will Rogers, for the record, SEC's all-time leader in completions, if I'm not mistaken. And yet, he might not even be an all-SEC performer coming into the season. Preseason all-SEC, I don't know if Will Rogers gets that nod. And yet, he's statistically one of the best in the history of the sport. Statistically. Now, I know stats don't indicate everything. I get that. Those of you that say, well, you know, is Timmy Chang the best quarterback ever? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying statistically speaking, his stats would indicate he's one of the best to ever do it in the SEC, and yet nobody talks about him. So and everybody seems to think, well, Bama doesn't have a quarterback, but Georgia does. Carson Beck's the next best thing. I think Carson Beck's going to be great. But how do you know Bama won't have a guy? When was the last time they didn't? When was the last time the quarterback position was a legitimate liability for Bama? Because it's been a while, in my eyes. So I think those are probably the 3 things that intrigue me the most. The Bama-LSU dynamic and power struggle, tug of war, if you will, in the West. Who's next after the likely top 4 in the media poll whenever that's released. And then the quarterback spot across the board, because there's a lot of good ones and there's a lot that are really underrated. And there might be a few that are a little overrated as well.